David Arquette is an actor, and if you didn't know, he was a former professional wrestler too. He is best known for his role as Dewey Riley in the slasher film franchise Scream, as well as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Never Been Kissed, and more. You can also catch him in Mrs. Davis streaming on Peacock. This is Just Be with David Arquette. What are you running around? What's so important that you're doing? I'm powdering my face. What are you doing?
Nothing. I just have a show coming out, just doing this, and went golfing for a little earlier.
So you're in LA?
I'm in Nashville.
Oh, right. You moved to Nashville. And what precipitated that move?
I have 2 kids with my wife, Christina, and she wanted to raise the boys outside of a big city like LA. She's from Arkansas. So my daughter she's 18 now. She lives in Los Angeles. And that was a big thing. I think a lot of people did that to Nashville in particular, but and Texas from LA during pandemic. Yeah. It's been interesting. I grew up in LA, so it's been a bit hard for me, but it's a calmer life here and just sweet. We've got a nice little community.
So I have had so many people on here, and your reading about you was honestly, if the most interesting, if not one of the most, it was really, there was so many things I read about you that I would never have known. And you're my era, you're my generation. Like, you're someone I read about in, the magazines and tabloids and senior movies. So I was shocked that there were all these things I didn't know about you that were surprising, like many multi-layered. I think, yeah, really interesting. So reading that, the only thing that was not a surprise was reading that you're an introvert. That comes across in your persona.
Yeah, I have a really hard time. I'm getting more comfortable in social situations, but it's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster. And sometimes I don't think being an introvert is something that people really think and understand is real. And I know some people that have been living a life as an extrovert uncomfortably, but they actually are an introvert. And I think as you get older and into your 50s, you start to think about that, because just because you have a personality doesn't mean you want to interact. Like reading about you, like, I don't like to transact. I don't like a lot of like talking to someone and like, can I get your room key and how are you having your day, and like interacting a lot. Like, I get anxiety from transacting. So, and I was just talking to someone who said that she has been living her life as an introvert. As an extrovert, but is really an introvert. So how do you gravitate towards the entertainment industry as an introvert?
Yeah, well, I used to, aside from, my career acting or whatever, but just in life, I used to drink to kind of combat that. And it was like this ego kind of juice for me. And it would just give me like this. But I've realized that a lot of my behavior when I did that, it's kind of like the cringy, embarrassing stuff that I don't want to repeat. So I don't drink anymore. And it's had me sort of be able to have to sit with myself, get comfortable with myself, sort of find other things that help with that, exercise, being creative, like different things like that help with that. But as an actor, I don't know. There's some things where, I don't know. I think that's why I drank or wear stupid clothes in the past, just to kind of like, to like, okay, look at me. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Look at me so that I don't know. I feel it easier to, if somebody's looking at me, if I have the spotlight, if I'm on stage, to then, shine or whatever. Or
well, they can talk about that, but it's not really you. It's like a distraction, it feels like.
Right. When you're
like,
not being.
Right. Like, look at this facade. Yeah.
Then you understand. Then you're like, oh, what are these feelings? And why am I feeling that way? How do I let this sort of, heavy feeling kind of pass and breathe through it? And it's especially hard being a parent, because it's just like, oh, you deal with all these triggering things from your past. I just realized, like, when I'm in a car with a bunch of kids and like they're screaming, like it's getting out of control, something triggers in me, like when we're
Same.
traveling across the country, that just, I don't know what it is. And I have to like literally say to my kids, listen, it's not you, but I'm getting a lot of anxiety. Can you just kind of tone it down?
I can make you feel, I think it's funny when you hear like your kids in the back on TikTok and the noises, and you're just like, no, like these little things happen that you just want none of it. Once you've heard it once, anytime you hear it even for a second, you can't even, you can't handle it. But that's also age. Like I don't like anything repetitive, like any kind of music that's repetitive, like do do do. I can't handle any, even if it's like Mozart. I can't handle repetition. So we're all getting crazier, or more authentically who we really are. But so I guess if you had to be a reality star, or you had to just be yourself, that would be harder than being another character, because that gets to be some sort of a shield, right?
A little. A couple of years ago, I did a documentary called "You Cannot Kill David Arquette," and it sort of focuses on my love of wrestling. And I did a wrestling movie, and they made me the champion, and wrestling fans got really upset. So I went back to sort of prove myself. And in a sense, it's kind of a little snapshot of my reality or my world within this wrestling sort of place. But I don't know. There's something kind of liberating about being able to just be yourself and not hide behind a character, and just like accept me for my flaws, and like, understanding your flaws. And also, like, I'm dyslexic, so I'm the type that takes those flaws and figures out a way to like make it work for me in a better way, for a way that sort of helps me fun.
Yeah. Are you but the wrestling thing was a real thing. It was a role that turned into a real thing, which sounds like, it's funny because I feel like when I was waking up this morning, I was thinking about everything I read last night. I wanted to say it sounded like a midlife transition. It sounded like a midlife blank. That I can say. Like, totally. Now I'm a like, it sounds like a new identity, but so unusual. So it's not it wasn't a hobby. You weren't just doing jujitsu on the side. You were like a wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what the heck? Explain that.
It's a really interesting form of entertainment. I don't think it's like understood by people. I think it's like brushed off as it being this, but it's a lot complex and detailed. And there's all of these nuance to it when you get into it. And like, I toured for a couple years doing independent shows and wrestling all throughout the country. So, and I trained in Tijuana with luchadors, and really, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was crazy. I almost died. So
it's super dangerous.
Yeah, the whole lesson. Yeah, I got stabbed in the neck at one point, but it was a mistake. I was in something called death match, but I learned something like, why am I beating myself up? I was asking myself that, and it went down to like, also I'd had alcohol abuse in the past, and just came from an abusive background, so I was like, why am I like beating myself up so much? And then, understanding that and how not to do that, and how to sort of like then lean into self-care and, really taking care of your needs kind of helped a lot. It captured this point in my life where, all of that was coming together. And I don't know, I was really sort of open. You see me do a therapeutic ketamine treatment in the movie. It's pretty intense.
Wow. So the wrestling was harmful to yourself or healing? Because you're saying you were beating yourself up with
physically harmful. Yeah. I mean, to your body, it's completely destructive, but to my mental and my sort of self-confidence, it was really like, it got me to be in the moment a lot more. There's this thing about wrestling, when you're first learning it, you're like pitter-pattering your feet a lot. And once you like learn how to settle in and then slow time down, and then you get your moves really crisp and you like make it look really painful, but you're actually not hurting the person at all. It's a pretty magical dance once you figure it out.
And do you do it at all now, or are you left that behind?
No, I don't do it at the moment. I'm not completely like, I love the business and the fans so much that I'm not like, I'm open to having some fun in that world again. But what it also did was I loved wrestling as a kid. And it's also sort of my love for Bozo the Clown. Like certain things that I loved as a kid, I want to like hold on to those things so my kids can experience them, so they also can sort of enjoy it. So we could go to wrestling matches together, or we could go to the circus or whatever it is.
And no, Bozo's your whole life. So Bozo's also my generation, you know?
Yeah, Bozo's
So,
like, I fell in love with Bozo when I was like 3 or 4 years old in Chicago. I lived in Evanston, and he was really big at the time on WGN, and Bob Bell played Bozo. And I just fell in love with it. So then I started studying clown recently. We're doing a documentary about that. And
it's not just Bozo, it's the whole art of the clown, like the whole life of the clown.
We're sort of using Bozo in a sense to sort of bring the brand back, but in a sense help bring back kind clowns and fun clowns and silly clowns, and not just scary clowns, because scary clowns are sort of taking up all the air in the room.
Do you know Eric Stonestreet?
Yeah, I love Eric, and I know he's a trained clown.
Oh, you do? I was going to say, because yeah, that's crazy. Like, he's definitely the only trained clown I know.
Yeah, I'd love for him to come play it. I love the stuff they did on Modern Family involving clowns.
Yeah, he's full. I mean, it's not going to be that hard. It's going to be hard to cast the clown world because there aren't that many other people. So he might be able to get some sort of part in whatever it is you're doing because he's the only one who's trained.
Such a cool world. Like when you learn clown, there's a few things like it's a gift that you're presenting to the audience or whatever. So it's not like you're asking for anything in return. So you're just kind of putting it out there, and it's a skilled performance that you've sort of crafted for them. But that's the gift. So, and if you could tap into that like lightness in your heart, like when we were children, that brightness in our eyes, where your clown lives. And when like the idea is like if we could get more people like understanding that and being able to laugh at themselves and laugh with each other, but not laughing at people or causing people pain, you know, like there's an old poster right there that's about being funny, like being funny in the right way, but not.
That's so true. Because I literally, when I think of clown, the last interaction with a clown that I've had is watching that Walmart commercial when the clown stepped on that like sharp unicorn. Did you ever see that commercial?
I don't remember this.
It's actually so there's a kids party and they're all sitting there and the clown is being a clown and entertaining them. You got to look it up. And he accidentally steps on like a sharp like unicorn toy and screams at the top of his lungs. And it's hilarious. Like it's a very edgy for Walmart commercial because it's just so irreverent. It was really funny, but it wasn't laughing at the clown and it wasn't making fun of the clown, and it wasn't the kids like laughing in like an innocent way at the clown. It was the clown totally just making a mistake, and I was crying at this commercial. I don't know why. I just remember it. You have to go see it if that's this brand adjacent. Yeah. And so your relationship was extremely public, and I guess that's because you were both very famous at that time for different reasons, and because Courtney was, on the biggest show of all time, and that was like that moment. And thank God there was no social media then; it was just reading the magazines. But, and I didn't realize it lasted so long. That's a 14-year marriage, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So that's successful, especially by Hollywood standards, by anyone's standards, but. In my mind, it was a couple of years. And then I read and I was like, wait, they were married for 14 years. And it was very public. And it's beautiful that you say that you are like, you're great co-parents. Like you have a beautiful relationship. You're in each other's lives besides the kids, your child.
Yeah, ultimate respect and love for each other. It's all about Coco, and it's all about, being that example for a healthy relationship, even if it doesn't work out. I mean, that sort of started when we got separated, and that wasn't public for a long time. But when it came to the divorce, I personally believe that a lot of people spend most of the money on lawyers when they're splitting it. And, if you can be reasonable and rational and sort of approach it in a way where you both have your child's future on your mind, I think you can really do magical things and save a lot of money. We had a mediator, and she said it was the cheapest she'd ever charged her clients.
That's about the two people. That's the most admirable thing whenever I hear that, because it is really, really rare. It's more rare than being a wrestler that's into clowns, I think.
Yeah.
It's rare. And that's a role model, because also for your kids, you want to show them a positive relationship in many forms.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Christina is just incredible. She's really helped me. She helped me get through that. I mean, I was super damaged by the time we had met. And there was a lot of shrapnel she had to deal with at that time. So once we made it through and just sort of worked on ourselves individually and then came back together, it's really been beautiful as far as a different take. We just realized there's like a passion to arguing and that push and pull of a relationship. But once you drop the scarf and, you listen to each other's needs and boundaries and you start really are clear about all that. I don't know. There's a really beautiful thing that happens when you don't argue. I think fighting is pretty much the biggest waste of time on this planet.
Yeah.
The things that, it's important to stand firm for what you need and all that stuff. But I don't know. I like everyone to win. I know it's crazy, but I like when things work for everybody.
Right. Well, you're describing a lot of any business relationship. There should be a little bit of a rub and everyone's a little uncomfortable, but ultimately happy.
Absolutely.
Ultimately satisfied.
Yeah. And there's so many things that happen within that world that are also I don't know, just it's a crazy world when you see some people get cutthroat and I don't know, some people do business in a really different way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the same. It's very, very, having been through both in a very intense way. I had a 10-year divorce on a 2-year marriage. So having been through a serious business career and that, it is oddly similar. So I can't ask for cautionary tales because you were married for 14 years. So that to me is a successful marriage. It just sounds like went in different directions. So I would have asked you if you got married too young or something, but I do think it was successful. So
the cautionary the different directions. I think just in general, you should never let you have to be independent, but you can be independent, in a parallel way, not in a moving away from each other way. And once you start to get too far, it just leaves room for other people to other needs to kind of come up and factors within the relationship. I think you just have to keep it I think relationships move apart in general, but you have to just keep coming and really staying close.
Get back to center, because once you've gone too far, it's hard to get back. How could someone know if your paths are going to separate? Then would that mean that you can't know? So marriage shouldn't seem like something that has to last forever. I'm just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't.
How could someone know?
Listen, I think it's all relative, and you can I understand a lot of people not wanting to get married anymore, not wanting to have kids. I totally get it. It's
I get it too.
Choice, and it's beautiful, and and there's also people change, and you go through things that maybe you do kind of outgrow each other, or you're not that type of partner anymore. You can be friends, but you're not romantic or whatever it is in your relationship. But I don't know. I think as long as it's not toxic, that's where you want to really avoid those kind of bickering and the kind of stuff that just, I don't know, becomes a drag on your life.
Right. Well, a crack becomes a crater. But it sounded in reading about you like maybe marriage isn't really for the young, because it sounds like you now admit that it's hard, which I admit that relationships are hard too, and not a one size fits all. When we're younger, I think you think you're supposed to be married in a way that you're supposed to be married, versus when you're older, you kind of a la carte menu, like curate your own marriage, like relationship. I'm in a relationship with someone who lives in a different state, like and but it works, because in the beginning we were trying to force it to be what it was supposed to be. And once you actually realize who you actually are and what the dynamic actually is, and then make that work, you're kind of swimming under the wave instead of fighting the wave.
Yeah, totally. I love
what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because you say you admit that it's hard. Like, if someone doesn't admit that it's hard, I think there's something wrong with them. Like that, and I'm being too judgmental, but like, are you what? Something will crack at some point. How could two people be like clones that want the exact same thing? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, me neither. No.
Right?
Yeah. Especially if you're, I was once with my therapist. I was like, oh, and he's like, you like strong women. That's just a reality. You're gonna, you wouldn't be happy with somebody who was more subservient in the sense, because you just like, somebody who's strong, who's like a powerful woman. And I was like, yeah, that's true. So with that comes, very strong opinion. Like, you know what I mean? You have to.
Yes. Yeah. I'm that strong. Yeah. Well, you like to wrestle.
And when you understand that, there's a beauty to it. If you have an ego about it, it can be a complete disaster, because then you're caught up in all these things that have nothing to do with your actual relationship and your dynamic together.
Right. You can't walk in and buy something in a store and then wonder why you got what you walked in to buy. Like, you like strong women, so then you can't, I mean? You can't want a dog to be a cat. You adopted a dog. You didn't adopt a cat. It's not gonna be a cat.
That being said, my wife did adopt a feral dog at one point, and there was some healing I had to do, let's say.
So Scream has been an indelible part of your career, and has that been amazing? What's your relationship with that entire experience?
Oh yeah, it's been completely amazing. As far as got to work with Wes Craven, which was an incredible gift. He was a real mentor and really fabulous director. Then I met Courtney, and then my daughter Coco, which is just like everything in the world. So I mean, just that alone. But then, being part of this new franchise and the fifth one, getting to work with Melissa and Jenna and the new directors, Matt and Tyler, it was great. I think it's just a fun thing to be a part of. You meet these people at the fans at these different conventions or whatever, and they're just so touched. Like, we met in our first movie, and then we've been married for 10 years. It's like just these really beautiful moments, and also that it like spanned this amount of time, and that it's like connected with people. And when people are fans, they're kind of like serious fans, so it's really like been important to them for 25 years. So when you start doing that, start talking to them, I don't know, there's something really sweet. I have a relationship with fans where it's like they kind of feel like they're my friends, and I feel like I'm their, which is a good way to be. I've seen the other dynamic where it's more like old movie star style. It's fine, not for me.
Well, and you own Bootsy Bellows, where I've been. Isn't there one in Aspen?
Yeah, there's one in Aspen as well.
Okay, and so that was your concept? That does not seem like you at all. Or someone came to you with the concept, or you created the concept?
We have puppets, so that might sound
right.
It's named after my mother. I found her in a 50s pinup book, and she was lingerie fighting with another lady, and I was like, Mom, I was 18. I'm like, Mom, I found you in this book. She's like, oh, we weren't really fighting. And I was like, oh, Mom. Did you ever strip? And she was like, no, but I burlesque danced a couple of times. I was like, did you have a burlesque dancing name? And she said, Bootsy Bellows. So that's why it's named that. I opened it with my two partners, Brian Toll and John Terzian from the H Wood Group. And they've gone on to open about 20 different places. And yeah, so Bootsie's has been great. We have one at SoFi Stadium too for all the Rams.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're partners in all of them.
Yeah. I mean, Aspen's a licensing deal, so we have a partner up there, Andrew. But aside from that, yeah.
Are you business minded?
A little bit. It's not like I'm not the greatest about it. I need business partners. I'm more creative marketing. Like I have those kind of things that
But
I'm
it
good at.
sounds like, I mean, for someone who's more creative than business minded, and first of all, the most important thing is to know that, because so many people who are creative have opportunities and then they think that they're like the business part of it, and the chefs do this all the time and it ends up being a disaster. And so it's smart to say, I'm more creative, but I partner with the right people. But I think it's fascinating that you have two things that really have like gone on for exponential success. What percentage of your career do you think has been luck and skill? And I consider, luck, intelligence, skill. I consider skill like knowing the right projects to pick also. So what percentage do you think is each?
I think there's a lot of luck in general, just in this business and whatever business you're going in. I also think a lot of that luck comes from falling down on your face first, and then your first experience in the nightclub industry, or my first experience, was I learned a lot, I lost a lot. I was then able to go on and create something successful. So the first one I lost a lot in. The second one has gone on for 10 years now. But yeah, learning from your mistakes is really important. And figuring out how to delegate, how to work with people. The best experiences I've had on a professional level, I mean, some of them, we did a game show at one point called Celebrity Name Game, and we got to work with a Fremantle, and just like, yeah, I don't know, just the group that we had brought together, they were just so like, I don't know, just everyone knew their job and did it really well on a very high level. So it was like having this really, the pie got cut up a lot more. People were just, I don't know, there was just a professional level. So the point is, when you work with, really skilled people, you share with them, but then you create.
All boats rise with the tide.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Right. It's the alchemy, which somebody, Ian Schrager, said to me about everything coming together. Alchemy. I like that word. No, but it sounds like you were an actor and kind of early in diversifying your portfolio and being in these other businesses that are passive income, like you're sleeping and Bootsy Bell is making money.
Yeah, that was mainly like out of a desire not to just go crazy. There's a certain, like, pretty much, let's say November to through the new year, as an actor, if you haven't booked something, you're just going to be like pulling
obsessive.
3 months, and it's during the holidays. It's just really hard. You typically actor, if you're don't have certain income, if you're a working actor, it literally can be like the hardest time of the year. It's right around Christmas, which is so.
I didn't know that. No one's ever said that to me before. I did not know. I would never have known that.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed a little now. It was even harder core when there were 3 networks and
right.
shows. But it's a little better now. But if you haven't booked something and then you go into, so for that, I started, making sure I was doing art, making sure I was, doing some other business. I started a clothing line for a while with Ben Harper called Proper, and, took another bath with that.
Yeah.
But learned, it was like this incredible experience, like learning the garment industry.
And you're usually putting your own money into these things? It's like a...
yeah.
Okay.
Parts, yeah.
So what's been the most lucrative business? What's been the most lucrative aspect of your entire career? I'm not saying you're gonna tell me what the numbers. I just mean like what thing would we be surprised by it?
I don't know. My wife's just amazing. She produced helped produce the They Call Me Magic, the Magic Johnson documentary, and being able to. I produced it with her.
Oh, okay.
I was a co-EP, but being able to work with a hero of mine like Magic and create something that he was proud of, that was really a joy. We also invested in a nonfiction movie studio called XTR, and my friend Tony Shea had invested in a movie that got nominated for an Academy Award after he had passed. But that was kind of a big moment, just because it was something he wanted to get nominated for something at Sundance, and
you're definitely an investor, and I don't. That's nowhere written. That's interesting. You're definitely an investor. You just named like 10 different investments over the course of the conversation. You're an investor.
Come in early, seed money, sweat equity. That's like we then bring in investors for the bigger sort of stuff. Is sort of what we.
So, what's been the best thing you've ever invested in?
I don't know. I invested in Bozo the Clown. It took me 15 years, and it was like a dream of mine from when I was a kid. It's been more than I, anticipated. Like, you kind of need a huge infrastructure and like, big time lawyers to kind of handle a IP like this. But it's been really a lot of joy. We're doing music, and we're going to do a film and doing a documentary at the moment, which has been fun, like editing with my wife. It's always hilarious.
But from a business perspective, like tell me what, like, I'm not asking numbers, like what has had the best ROI, not emotionally, but like actual business, the club or the Scream.
What's the most financially successful?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, for sure.
Is what? The club?
The Scream stuff. Well, the club, the club is great and incredible. It's more of a, if we ever sell it kind of thing, well, that would be then at that point. But right now it would be Scream.
But Screaming, because it has all of the other appearances and all the other things that go with it. And like, it's a whole world. It's like being an American Idol or something. You keep going on tour and it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of am weird. Like, I look for my high marks, not sort of on the financial side. It's more like the little moments of sort of full circle moments. Because I was doing Mrs. Davis, and I'd gotten it from an audition on the computer, which I never,
right.
For years, you send in these things and, you just never hear. So I finally got one, and it's a really big show. And I get to work with these incredible directors and actors. And then I worked on and it's on the Warner Brothers lot. So I spent a lot of time there during the Friends times.
Right.
So moment of, I've always loved magicians. I get to play a magician, working with Betsy Gilpin, who's just incredible in this show, and Elizabeth Marvel. And I'm just like top tier actors. I'm just like having this experience, and I'm playing a magician, and then I look up and I'm on the lot and it says Warner Brothers right there, and it's big, and we're in the biggest, like,
it's like getting to feel like what it really was or what you dreamt it would be, and it's like magical. It sounds like it. It's interesting.
I'm back here.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's not like you're doing some weird thing just to piece together like a career and money. Like, you're back to like, you're an actor and you're out of studio, like, back Metro Goldwyn Mayer, like that type of vibe. Yeah, I get it. You're on a lot. Like, that's very iconic.
Keep fighting. Because even right now, I don't know what my next job is. And I'm auditioning for things, and I'm like going out there and I'm having these meetings, and I'm like, you still just like, 33 years in this business, and still like training,
Yeah, but that keeps you alive. I think that's interesting. It's so funny you say that, because what you're talking about is purpose in a way. And like, I have certain things in my business that are more lucrative than ever. Like, I'm doing extremely well, but I don't want to say the word bored, because I don't want to do too much, because I like my life the way I like it. So when something comes to me that's going to be really bulky and wieldy and like stressful, I don't want to do it. But I also don't want to be just like wandering around my house, like in my like, these slippers I have that have mice on them, like with no, so when I do these things like you're talking about, I went to go do a show in Florida for 10 days, and like, you wake up and like, you're in a studio and like, you're a person and you're interacting, and like, I don't want that to be my whole life. I don't want to be like on a talk show set for 365 days a year. But like, you get a little hit, you book an appearance, get on a plane, you sit in a hotel, you feel like a person again, and then you come back to your nest. But I get what you're saying, because it's like, oh, I have purpose.
Yeah. I love when you can kind of create your reality in your environment. It's like
Same.
I'm such a fan of Adam Sandler and the way he's worked with his friends, and he's really kind of
Yes.
created this whole environment. So it's kind of like my idea with the Bozo thing, which I'm trying to put together, is just get this little core group that's not too big. You know what I mean? That doesn't take huge production to do a film. And then you can just
Yes.
hang out these things like a guy named Ernest, the guy who did Ernest. I don't know if you remember him, but like Ernest Goes to Camp and all these things.
Yes, of course.
This sort of model where it's just kind of small. You could do it on your own. You could do it this little.
Yes.
Hire all your friends. You don't need these huge budgets because you're not these big stars. And then you could just go have fun and like write.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I literally was sitting down screwing around a year ago, and I became a 52-year-old beauty influencer. I've never known how to do my own makeup. It bothered me because if I was in Ohio, I didn't know how to do it. And so I just started playing around, and all these people on TikTok were like, I didn't know they were lying. I didn't know they were filtered, but they were like, oh my God, the glow. And I was like, I want that. I'm buying that. And I'm buying that. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, is this bullshit? And I started buying all this drugstore stuff and comparing it to the stuff that I have that people have given me that's expensive because I can afford to buy anything. But I was playing around with like CoverGirl and the cheap stuff. And it was the same exact thing. And it was like this discovery because I'm talking to like the moms that just want to get out. They have 10 minutes to get ready. They're not like these experts. And it exploded into this crazy thing. And the thing that people like about it is the homemade of it. Like I'll go in with bad lighting because I don't even know how to do lighting, going into the dollar store and start buying makeup. And now everybody wants to be in business with me because this thing exploded. When I tell you, millions and millions of views. And now like YouTube series and stuff. And I'm like, but I don't want it to be too perfect. I'm like, I don't want like good production. I want it to be like decent. But I want it to not be too perfect. Once you make it too perfect, Coca-Cola buys you, it's all fucked. Happened to me in my liquor business. Yeah. Beam Global, multi-billion-dollar company comes in, you're fucked. Because it's not like got the trustworthy spirit of it. So it's like what you're saying.
Totally. And then
you don't want it to be too polished.
Like, does one need as far as like being busy, you know what I mean? It almost feels like we're in this cycle of like work, and then it's like, wait a second, it's really nice to go on a walk. It's really
yes.
The win. It's like appreciate a iced tea or something. Like really kind of like find those moments. That's where I'm kind of like. Now I can spend any amount of time with my kids because I could go to like their softball game and just sit there and like watch these silly kids.
That's what I'm doing today. Exactly. So you're like me where you want to not be like Jello, but you also don't want to be in the grind where like everything you're talking about is being on your phone. I got to do this and I got to do that and like schedule within an inch of your life. That's true balance, I think. Everyone always makes it like it's the work, that's the true balance. Like just being present in being with your kids at the game today, because I'm going to the lacrosse game, and then being present in the appearance or the beauty review or the Bozo project, like being present in both, not apologizing for either, but also not like working to fill a hole and being Jello, to rebel from that.
Yeah. Like it's examples like with Bootsies. Bootsies and H-Wood, they become really big. So we used to always do these Coachella events every year, Bootsies with like McDonald's or all these things. And then they just started then rebranding it now as H-Wood. Now they're doing them all H-Wood at Coachella. And I'm kind of like, for a second, my ego gets like, wait, Bootsies started that. But then I'm like,
right.
I don't have to participate. I don't have to go to Coachella. I don't have to.
Right.
Not that I did it all the time anyway, but in general, it's just, I don't know. I'm all right with like, okay, you guys shine. Like they're hustling, like do it. Like,
that's the age. That's the age, like holding on to everything and realizing it's the under the wave. Like you're not making any less money and it really doesn't matter. But like, it's so true. You just sit there and you're like, that's just putting down all these like obligations and saying yes in the moment because it sounds good because it's just a word on a calendar, and then when it comes, you're like, ugh.
I know. I have a real I've been holding back my yes a little more because I used to be very, much more like, yes, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep. So you have 3 kids. You have 2 children with your marriage now, which has been this marriage has been for a long time too, right?
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years. And you live in Nashville, and it sounds like you have a decent amount of peace. Like what used to be, someone said to me, good is great. Like good now is great. Like it's not action crazy. Like, off the seat of your pants, like jets. I used to be like jet setting everywhere and running around and like highs and lows, a roller coaster, driving with no brakes. But like now life is peaceful and good. And I think that at this point, like that's what you just want. Like really no drama.
Yeah. I mean, little moments of like, I don't want to get too wild ever, but little moments of like I can't believe like finding those moments to like laugh with your friends and just like have a really great silly time. As long as you can do that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you've been sober how many years?
I wouldn't say sober. I don't drink. I will smoke like once in a while. I try not to do it too much, but
okay. So you gave up alcohol, but do you call yourself an alcoholic, or it just wasn't working for you in your life? Like
alcoholic. I'm just an addict in general. I'm like I'm egomaniac when I do any of that kind of stuff. But I don't think like pot's that bad if you're like, gonna go to sleep or something like that, a little bit.
And you're not gonna play bozo in any of these this project?
I've been playing a little bit of bozo. We're still figuring it all out, but yeah, I am going to play bozo.
Oh, okay, great. Respectfully, I think that's perfect. You know what I mean? Like that's not the thing. I don't like walk up to people like, you'd be great at playing bozo, but you'd be great at playing bozo. And your kids will love it.
I went to Chicago and like I met with the WGN people and they're all like, well, you're not a Chicago bozo. And I was like, oh, it's like maybe I'm an Evanston bozo.
That's hilarious. That's funny. Well,
they're very opinionated.
Did you, because you're definitely quirky and I like that. Like you're not mainstream. So I consider myself kind of mainstream, sadly. Did you know who I was? Did your publicist like shove you to meet with me and like do this?
I am totally a fan, for sure. I think
of me?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a fan of you on the show, but also all of your business prowess has been incredible. So I always look for that and I always like think that's impressive.
Oh, okay. I would guess that I literally, if I saw you in a restaurant and someone said, oh, and that's David Arquette, I'd be like, he definitely has no idea who I am. That's what I would say. That's funny. So I'm wrong. And that happens a lot on here.
For sure. I love those shows too. I mean, for when I watch them, I don't watch them that often, but what was the other thing? I think you guys may have gone to my first nightclub, Beecher's Madhouse at one point. I don't know if you
is that the one? Where's that?
At the Roosevelt. That was my first nightclub. It was at the Roosevelt Hotel. It was called
in LA.
That's Beecher's Madhouse. Yeah.
Yes, I did go there. I don't know. Was it
choirs that would come down at your table with big giant bottles of champagne? I know it's inappropriate and it's a different time.
No, I definitely went there. Yeah, you've had many lives, David.
I think what I was saying.
Oh, amazing. You have a good memory then, because I went to the place in Aspen too. So I've supported your business endeavors. Well, it was amazing to talk to you. And now I know you and you're very, very interesting. And I was so excited to interview you because when I read all about you, I'm like, this guy has like a lot going on. Someone who seems sheepish and quiet. So congratulations on all your success and may it continue, and love to your family. And I really appreciated talking to you.
Thank you. You too.
Awesome. All right. Let me know about Bozo and like whatever's coming up. I live in Connecticut, but I'm in LA a lot. So if there's ever anything that applies to me, I'll support you.
For sure. Healthy humor. We support healthy humor, which is the medical clowns that go into 15 hospitals throughout the country.
Oh.
And because a patient that interacts with a clown before surgery has a 40% better outcome. It's a statistic.
That's crazy.
Argentina, every children's hospital has medical clowns in them. So they're really amazing, like the magical healing that they do.
That's unbelievable.
In these hospitals. Yeah, it's called Healthy Humor. So we just did a big event for them at Bootsy Bellows. So if anything, you'll hear on something like that.
Oh, I love that. All right, Healthy Humor. I love that.
It's New York.
Thinking, it's New York based?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
And then they were the charity wing. They separated, and now they're Healthy Humor.
You're into everything. This is amazing. You're really touching so many different things. Okay. Is there anything we forgot to talk about? Like anything you wanted to promote as it pertains to Scream or Bozo?
Feeding America is another charity I do a lot of work with. And
I've worked with Feeding America because we do relief work, and we've had for Hurricane Maria. You were one of the first groups we met with.
If you ever need any help in that department, I love Feeding America. They're a beautiful organization.
Okay, yeah, because we've met them on tarmacs and brought food on planes to go to different relief zones. Amazing. So good to meet you, and have an amazing day.
You too. Thank you.
Awesome, David. Oh, the people you get to meet on Just Be. That was David Arquette, someone that is my generation, and I've read about him so much, and I'm so lucky that I get to just meet these people that are people, because the truth is we just think of them as characters, as headlines, as tabloids, as people's husbands, as characters in movies, and like he's a person, and he's a cool person, and now I know him, and like this has been such an education. I don't know, it's just so exciting. Like I read about him, I'm like, what the hell? He had so much going on. Why would I know about it? I don't know him, but now I know him. Now you guys know him, and support him. So thank you so much for listening. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. That was David Arquette. Very interesting guy.